Welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience. Today is our first in the series called Organized Minds, where we explore both sides of the law, people who have been incarcerated, people who have been in law enforcement and policy. And we look at a lot of the stigma and culture around what it means to be a criminal or uphold the law, and what that's like for your identity, and what it's like to deal with these high stress, high pressure situations where we're dealing with maybe the depths of what is humanity at times, even. And there hasn't been a lot historical, a lot of room for expression, especially for male officers, but even for female officers as well, of course. But David Baird comes to us today for an interview, and he shares what it was like from his perspective to have traumatic experiences on the job as an officer in a city in New Jersey, and what that did to his career, and ultimately how he took early retirement, and what changes he's made in his life to kind of make peace with where he is today and everything that's happened. So please give me a warm welcome for David Baird. Welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience, Organized Mind. Today, I have a really special guest once again. All my guests are really special. I can't help it, but I really do mean that each time. And today we have joining us David Baird. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. David is quite an interesting human being that I got to meet recently. And amazingly open, which I'm so grateful for. David is a former police officer in a city in New Jersey that we'll talk about a lot, has experiences on the force, what it was like, some trauma and tragedy and things that, of course, surround any kind of life like that, and how he has evolved his thinking and ways of being in this world today from those experiences, and some of those insights and tips he can maybe share that I hope will reach other people who may or may not have similar struggles. So thank you, David, for coming, and thank you already. I know this is going to be an incredible interview. I'm so
Well, thank you for
excited.
having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we always like to start out with the happy stuff. So I would love, you're sitting in a beautiful field in your happy place, as you dubbed it. Although you said that and then you tried to be like, I don't want to call it that. I'm like, call it that, your happy place, your safe place. Um, you want to tell us a little bit about like what life is like for you now, and then we'll go back in time and talk about all the things that came before.
It's completely changed from what it was, but my life is about finding inner peace, happiness, whether it's nature, going for a hike. I get water from the stream. Well, it's actually a mountain up here, the stream. Well, I try to get it every morning, but I've been lazy lately. But I try to get there 5 a.m., fill up whatever water I need that I'm empty from, and then watch a sunrise. And it's enjoyable. I put my feet inside a stream. It's not too cold, and it's like when I was a kid. I used to go into the mountains. I used to go into the woods, and I was happy. So just this is about 2 years now. I started doing this, and tremendously helps. It's a whole different lifestyle. It's like my inner child again coming out and just trying to live in the moment.
That's amazing. So two big things, trying to live in the moment and connecting with nature. And you told me about, tree hugging and how some friends sort of made fun, but now they're doing it too. And sort of those back to basics things from childhood, um, because there was a period of time not too long ago where your day was quite different, and the way you felt about yourself and the world was quite dark. And so that's obviously a big part of why I'm doing this show, why we're doing this collaboration with the Blue Magazine, to try to humanize and normalize crazy, horrible, insane traumas that we either, affected us, we affected others, either way, you're part of something that leaves you feeling like maybe you don't want to be here in this world, like you need other things to help cope and medicate you to maneuver through this world. And it starts a cycle of darkness, right? And so you were able to come out the other side, but you have seen and experienced many, many things. So we're not obviously going to get into all of those, but I would love if you could talk and we could start with your early days as an officer, like what it was like when you first started, what you felt about, your early assignments, the neighborhoods, and then maybe we'll go from there.
When I first started, it's actually funny. I started on Halloween, 1994. So I always felt like I put on a mask and I was playing a role. Like I was 19 years old. I just turned 19, but I started in State County Sheriff's Department. So I was courthouse security. But I still put on a uniform. I felt I grew a lot there. I'm glad did not get on the road at 19 because probably wouldn't be here. I mean, I grew up around some good people. I was there 4.5 years, and I had some happy moments there. But then I felt I'm a second generation cop. My father's a was a Patterson police officer. He retired in 1994 when I started the sheriff's department. So I always felt this need to follow in his footsteps, I guess, and go to Patterson. So I took the test. I got hired in Patterson, and once I put on the uniform, went to the police academy, and had the gun, it was a whole different feeling from being courthouse security. And I was assigned to, they had a neighborhood stabilization unit. I had some great bosses. And basically, they said, go out, generate some arrests. And I learned a lot, from my bosses. I have some good memories of meeting children, from the projects, inner city kids that would come up to me. I remember a story, a little girl one day, I was looking in the back and the back of the house for somebody, and she tugged on me and she said, "Over there are the drugs." And I looked at her and I said, "What?" She said, "My mother smokes those drugs." Most beautiful young girl, and I went over there and there was, I don't know, 100 bags of crack. It just broke my heart to hear that from the young girl. And so then the kids are what became most important to me. If I could connect with the kids, I used to hate when you just walking, you say hi to a kid and the mother would say, "Don't talk to him. He's bad." Or even worse, if a kid was acting up and they see a cop and they say, "Oh, the cop, don't," or they just say, "Stop acting up. That cop's going to take you away." That used to break my heart because then if anybody was ever lost in trouble, they don't want to talk to the cop. They think they're in trouble. The disconnect, that part, trying to connect back with the community was rough. And then it became getting charged, criminally for doing your job. You go out, you make a good arrest, you come back to work the next day, you got an internal affairs report because they complained, you got charged with aggravated assault, whatever it is. So now you have to write those, and then 2 3 times a week sometimes. It was just pressure building up of just doing your job, and I don't want to say my definitely my life for the job was gone after 5 years where I was just like, what the hell is going on? You saw that there was nothing improving. And then I became part of the union and I tried to help other cops out. I was the alternate delegate for years. Then I was the second vice president for years. And everybody would call me. I would answer the phone and help everybody out. And that became my new zen. The phone always ringing and helping everybody. And then realized I was running from my
You
own
felt
problems.
like you were I was gonna say, because you said you felt like you were put there. Your vision of what a police officer is to help the community, but you
Absolutely.
were put in communities where, whether it be because of class or race or other kinds of barriers and things that, are bigger than you and bigger than them, put a wedge, right? Like we are kind of dancing around some of that to say that to not say the elephant in the room is that there's a lot of improvement in many areas, right? Many industries we have it in, the church, we have it in government, we have it in law enforcement, where there are some bad actors, and those are what people focus on sometimes, but that is not representative of the entire organization and all the people. And when you're someone who really wants to be a helper and you show up there, it can be disheartening. And so
Oh,
maybe when
absolutely.
you right? So then you found a way to kind of be helpful, be useful, because you were helpful to the other officers. And that makes a lot of sense because that's why you got there in the first place. That's what you wanted to do. You weren't trying to control and police people. You were trying to help, safety measures in place, and that might be policing involved, but meaning your overall goal, right? And so, like you said, it was sort of breaking your heart the way that you were not integrating in the communities, because of that role, because there's conflict, the way a child basically, to even have that on their mind, that's their parent, but there's they're breaking the law. We don't know what else was going on there. It's very layered and very complicated and very heartbroken, and nobody kind of wins in that scenario, right? Everybody loses a
Absolutely.
little bit.
It's a lose lose.
So, do we want to talk about the big incident now?
Sure. I was on 20 years total. It was December 22nd. I'm actually coming up on my 10 years. December 22nd, 2014. I was working normal, just used to going back to work and doing my 4 days on, my 4 days off. That day I was put with a partner. I usually worked alone. I was put with a partner because in New York City they had two cops that were ambushed and killed. So they had us working with somebody. I like to work alone. I always realized if I did something, I did it myself. If I'd back everybody up. I chose to work alone towards the end of my career. In the beginning, I loved to work with people, but towards the end, I liked to work alone. Well, I had a partner, and another unit was on the other side of the city following a stolen car.
I don't want to cut you off, but can you talk? Can you just tell a little bit why? Like, why did you like to work alone? Because I thought a
Uh,
lot of like the culture is the whole partner dynamic.
well, in the beginning, if I had the same partner from when I first got on, my first few partners, it was phenomenal. But they changed. I got changed from assignments, so I'd have to go with this partner who was just definitely not my type of guy. I'm a good guy, just not a go getter. I want to do crossword puzzles in a police car while I'm having a foot pursuit, like things like that. Just not my type of guy. So if I had the same partners from the beginning, I had some great partners, and if that was a bond that we had for years, I would have stayed. But see, I have a feeling the police department likes to break things up when it's too comfortable. If you're getting too many arrests, whatever it is. I mean, if they're getting calls and all of a sudden they have to take complaints, people are going to get moved. Unfortunately, if you do your job, you're going to get moved. Assignments are going to get broken. So at the end, I realized if I worked alone, whose heart are they going to break? Mine. I'll go to another unit. Put me inside. I'll do well inside. But I'm not going to have somebody else punished because you want to punish me. Oh no, punish me. I'm good. I was towards the end. I'd rather work alone. I don't want anybody else. I didn't want to. I didn't. Even though I was basically after 18 years, you're a field training officer. They call it. You become a corporal. Excuse me. I didn't really want to work with new guys because if I did, and they asked the truth, I was going to ruin their expectations of policing. And I really did not want to do that. Same reason why, if anybody wants to become a cop now, I'm definitely not the guy to talk to. 5 minutes with me, you'll be like, you know what? I'm going to become a carpenter. You're not going to want to do policing. So I just chose to work alone. But that day I had the partner. Another unit was following a stolen car. And the car pulled up right in front of me. I hopped out of the car, my lights on, and he threw in reverse, and I saw he was about to run another police officer over. So I fired with instinct twice through the windshield, and I don't. It was like happened so fast, but I fired through the windshield twice. I literally seen him go, and then he took off, crashed into the police car. The cop jumped out of the way. He took off. I told my partner, "Get in the car, get in the car." We drove about 200 feet, and my partner said, "Dave, stop, stop." He said I was emotionally distraught. I was just, it never happened to me. I taught firearms. I never had to use my weapon in the line of duty, not even for a dog or anything. And that happened so fast. And there were so many thoughts went through my head. So we got to the hospital. The cop was all right. He was never struck. The suspect got away while I was in the hospital. He got away in the stone. Well, I heard it while I was in the hospital. That after he crashed, he got away. They found the van crashed, up the street. They got K9 out, and they started tracking his blood and started raining, like like movie type things. And I'm in the hospital going, "Are you kidding me?" So now, I got released from the hospital and everything, and then he was nowhere to be found. So now, rumors. My ex-wife, or I don't know, can we not say that one? Somebody said I set the whole shooting up, and next thing you know, set the shooting up. Like that was the most realistic thing that ever happened. And if I wrote a report by exactly what happened, it was that one. And then rumors started that I set the shooting up, and then there was an investigation and into the shooting itself. I stopped getting paid, because they, even though it was in our contract, they stopped paying me, not because of an investigation. Nobody told me about the investigation. but I knew it was there because I had people tell me. And finally, I was cleared. I went for my pension. I only received 40% of my pension. I think I'm the first police officer in history to only get 40% to shoot a suspect in the line of duty. At that point, I was happy. I was happy. It was over. I just wanted peace. I still, that was about 6 years ago, I got my pension. I still didn't find peace. 2 years ago, I started finding healing and peace. But, the 3 or 4 years with an investigation for doing my job, it caused a toll on my life. I mean, uh, my son, I haven't spoken to him be 4 years next, in 5 days on the 29th. He's 19. I went from his hero to a zero. After his shooting, I took him to a Boy Scout meeting, and he saw me upset, and he said, "What's the matter, Dad?" I said, "I just going through some stuff." He said, "Dad, you're a hero." I didn't feel like a hero, and he went in and he told everybody, "This is my dad. He shot somebody. He's a hero." And then that was made me feel great. And here we are from hero to zero. Like, don't want to talk to me. That's a part of the healing that takes time. But you know what? I guess when he gets older, he'll realize we're not all the best. I wasn't the best father. I was emotionally, you know, I got, I left his mom when he was 7. But for those 7 years that I lived there, between trying to help other cops out, the phone ringing in the middle of the night, drinking, you know, pharmaceutical drugs, which were prescribed, so they were legal. No, you can't sleep, take an Ambien. I don't know if I should say, but if you can't take this, oh, you're having problems with that, take this. And then it was, oh, you hurt your back. Oh, you want some of this? Take the painkiller. It was all masking things. And I was never emotionally available for my son. I mean, I felt like I was, but unfortunately, I guess his mom painted a picture that I wasn't. So I guess when he gets older and he realizes, we all have issues. I'm hoping that sooner than later, because 4 years has been, it never gets easy. It never gets easy. I reach out to him, I text him, but hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. If not, one day.
And that's very that's very big. And that's the bravest way to look at it. And I think there are many, many stories that we can lean into about that, especially when, whether the parents are divorced or separated or not there. Um, Sometimes it takes the kid being out and on their own and having some space from everything to kind of reconnect and recenter and have that with the parent that they were maybe estranged from. But I don't know, maybe even in conversations like this and what we're doing, since you're being public about it, maybe there's a way to connect with him, again. And like you said, just who you were trying to be was forced into this box, into this armor, into this uniform that didn't fit right. And yet so it took more and more and more to kind of function, right? Like you were talking to me about that before, not in this conversation, but you implied it now in terms of drinking, in terms of, prescription, sanctioned by medical professionals, but still to the point where you're going into that gray zone of being a danger to yourself or others, where you're dependent on these things to just function. But your daily function also required moving through so much stress and animosity and tension and anger. And then there's the regular parts of, life and the neighborhood and community and all the other emotional things. So things were not great for quite a bit of time, and you were in a dark way. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you started to come out of that?
Uh, well, after the reason I don't even know why I stopped drinking, but I had actually went to a facility for PTSD. This was when I wasn't getting paid. Uh, I had heard the investigation was going through all kinds of things. My psychiatrist, he told me, kept recommending me I should go somewhere. So then one night I was just paranoid, just paranoid. People were following me. I wasn't getting my pension, and I said it's time. So I reached out to a cop that I knew that went to a program, and he got me put in. The next day I went. I went in there. I didn't realize that once I was in there, I couldn't sign myself out, which was just wild. I'm here voluntarily. Like, well, if you sign yourself out, you're committed. And I was like, hold on, like nobody told me this. So I did that program, but then I realized with that program, I went to another one that I'd go to meetings. It was for cops and firemen that drank. But I realized going to these meetings that everybody's got issues, but it was more war stories with the police. Like, oh, I did this and I did this off my computer. Whoa, like now it got everybody's ego in one room, and I didn't really feel that was what I needed or I wanted. So I stopped that completely. And then I just I was lost. I'll be honest with you, I was just lost. My parents they they could tell you they knew I was lost. And one night I just it was New Year's Eve I think or the day after, and I just had a meltdown, and I wound up being committed into St. Joe's. Craziness, because then cops came there from the police department, ones I didn't like, ones I liked. It was just, and then that just got me to the point that they had to sedate me, with cops watching me and embarrassed, tied to a bed. And I remember that was reality, and I was like, wow. And then when I got out, nobody really called. I had a handful of people call me through the years. Most of them find out about me to gossip. They would, what happened here, what happened there. But yeah, I have some true friends that reach out to me all the time, and I'd still keep in contact with them. But after that happened, it seemed like everybody was either scared, terrified. I don't know what it was, but or maybe I just cut everybody off. But it seemed like the phone stopped ringing and all that. So once I got released from that, I was taking medications regularly, prescribed, antidepressants, all kinds of things. And 4 years ago in June, well, actually, June was 4 years. I went to go pick my son up. It was actually the last time I saw him face to face. I went to go pick him up. I wound up having a seizure at his mother's house in the bathroom. And I never even got to see my son. I remember his mother yelling, "Get away." And I don't even remember. I remember my wife coming in. And because she went out there, "What's wrong with Dave?" My ex-wife saying to my wife now. And she came to my wife. And next thing I woke up, the ambulance was there. I got taken to the hospital. And it was a seizure from, they didn't know if it was the medications, but more of a PTSD induced stress seizure. And I realized the medications weren't helping me. I realized they were making me a dark place. I until I stopped taking the medications, I didn't look at birds. I didn't want to go out in nature. I wanted to be in this bubble. Take the Xanax or take this or take that. Sleep the day away. Tomorrow's a better day. No, there's
Yeah,
not a better day.
masking and muting feelings is less than being expressing anger and sadness, but it's not healing and definitely not feeling joy and love and gratitude and all the things that you've been describing that you're feeling in your day from very simple, pure things, like you said, in nature, getting water, wearing your bracelets, doing,
Come on.
breathing stuff. Yeah. And you know, I'm just even some things you said, even what we joked when we talked on the phone or when we met the first time around little side things you say about, like, even my mom made fun of me when I about my brace, and I said, because you would say something and you were like, I don't care who says that this is corny or something. I'm like, I don't think it's corny. And I realized it's you're already ready to defend anything that doesn't fit in the box of like manly macho 1950s style, right? Like,
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
and so that's part of, and it's not just like the police culture, it's all around you. It's literally like you said, you was like, even your mom sort of like gives you a little bit of a hard time. And I'm not trying to dis in any way disrespect your mom. I'm just saying, like, it's part of what she thinks is like, That's a little different. That's a little strange."
My
Um,
mom, she was funny about it because when she saw him on the one day, she saw my bracelets and she looked at me. I know she was joking, and she said to me, she said, "Aren't?" She said, "No." She said, "They used to say bees are for women." So I joke around how she made fun of me all the time. She's like, "I didn't make fun of you." She's like, "I was saying that now men are getting to them," but she doesn't say it anymore. I used to tell her. She'd say, "Oh, what are you doing today? Going to hug a tree?" And I used to be like, I'd be defensive. "Yeah, mom. Well, it helps. It gives energy." And she was just asking me because she was actually like, "Wow, he's going to hug a tree." Now she says, "You're going to hug a tree." I'm like, "Yep, I hugged a tree. I got good energy." They can tell the difference. they can
Yeah,
definitely
and
feel the difference.
they can see you have a calm now. You have, like you said, you have peace now. You you don't have guilt and shame in your every breath, right? You don't have fear. You don't have fear about who's coming looking over your shoulder, or what
Absolutely.
if you're doing the wrong thing from something you don't even know if you're doing the wrong thing. Um yeah, so it's really incredible, and you're just an amazing example of a good story, good happy ending. I think people think of what they think of what is a happy ending. It can look like anything. It doesn't matter maybe where you work or who you're married to, or what's going on, but for you, for now, within yourself, David is sitting in a beautiful field with sunshine around him, smiling, talking about painful stuff, but being able to kind of say, like, you still have a lot more chapters of in your life here,
Absolutely.
and that you're willing to talk with me about this stuff. I know it's not something you would typically do.
No, there's definitely
Speaking
outside the
of
box for
what
me.
you would typically do, I this is the question I was going to ask you, and I said, wait, I'm going to ask you on the air. So, just so for context, for the folks who might be watching this, about to do a series, and David is the first subject in this series with the Blue Magazine, which is a magazine that is for law enforcement. And we're going to be talking about real stories of real officers of all different kinds, and some real struggle and how they've gotten through it. And of course, have some other resources and tips in there for people to hopefully find some hopefulness in their journey, right? Like you talked about, having hope about even the dark things that still aren't quite resolved right now. So I asked the one of the publishers or founders of the magazine, Danny, I was like, David and I were talking about doing like some really doing events, because we had talked about that as well. And I said, like, what about like roller skating? Or do you think we could get a bunch of the guys to come to a yoga studio? And Danny was like, I don't know about that. Maybe the women. And I was like, no, I mean, yeah, women, of course, too. But like, no, I want the guys who don't do yoga to come. I was like, maybe we don't even tell them it's yoga. Just give them the address. We do the event there. So I said, well, I'm going to ask David. I bet he'd trust me to do it's really just to like get out of your head, right? Like I
Well,
thought
I'll
if I
tell you
could
what.
get somebody then.
I'll tell you what. Since Danny set this up, and he said, "Oh, Dave would do an interview." Yeah, I would definitely do it, but then Danny has to do it with us. So that's my stipulation. So Danny has to come. No, absolutely. You know what? Doing something outside the box definitely changes the perspective. If you get a laugh how to do it, like, listen, I don't. I think if you do a yoga, and I'm not trying to give you an ideas, but do a '80s yoga party. Now everybody's got to wear a costume. You come in with crazy hair. Somebody come in looking like, with the headbands, neon. Now people are like, you know what? I'm not myself. I'm coming in like a '70s yoga person. See, now
Like
it's
Richard Simmons, like
yeah,
Richard
yeah.
Simmons.
Yes,
Yeah.
whether he
That's
had the
what
headband or not, because that's the whole Mandela effect. They're saying he had a headband, didn't have a headband. Just, but yeah, do the whole '80s effect. Even with roller skating, just silly things like that. The roller skating idea itself, the yoga, just things that people don't normally do.
Well, then there is some science to it. And the reason I try and get kind of, high performance, high intensity career people to have these experiences and do it in a way where we're not necessarily with Gen Pop. So nobody is looking at you, nobody
Yeah.
cares. I mean, we do have a photographer and stuff there, but everyone gets permission to what they're comfortable with. But the whole point is also that we are moving the body in different ways, and you're releasing different kinds of hormones. And when you do that, like you said, laugh unexpectedly, even fall on your butt, not really get hurt, but like, just get
Hmm.
like not be great at something, try and touch your toes. Some people will, some people won't, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. But yeah, that's the thing. Kind of giving people the freedom, like you said, be a kid again.
Hmm.
Be a
You
kid
got to get the
again.
endorphins moving. The endorphins have to move. Like, and to be honest, I don't really get nervous about doing anything anymore because I decide if I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. I was very nervous about doing this. I feel phenomenal. Other than just coming down there and relaxing and watching the birds, my endorphins are open and I feel good. I honestly do. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to feel good. But just talking
Oh,
about letting other people feel that is phenomenal if they're willing to do it.
right.
Everybody. Oh, that's enough. No, women do that. No, no, no. There's no women do this, women do that. If you want to do yoga, you do yoga. If you want to hug a tree, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what color. It doesn't matter male, female. If you feel good doing it, then you should do it. See, even with the people don't want to do it because they're embarrassed. When I used to go to
Well,
nature.
that's the thing. So either three things. One, it's not cool. One, if you're male and if you're heteronormative and you care about like the idea of masculine or macho, like that's not macho, right? Or something like that. I don't know. And then, like you said, will it make me weird? Is it sacrilegious if they're a certain organized? No, I'm literally talking about some breathing, getting out of your head,
Hmm.
tricking your parasympathetic nervous system, having some tips and tricks that you can do privately in a bathroom, in the car when you're starting to feel overwhelmed so that you don't, those kinds of things. But yeah, so we're gonna and have fun. And then of course we'll have like food and stuff. So, we'll
Oh,
have a good time.
absolutely.
But I'm definitely gonna now use this leverage with Danny. I'll be like, all right, Danny, David's in. So
No, no, no. I'm in definitely. You know what? It sounds like fun. If
but
it takes me to get Danny to go, then Danny will tell 5 people you have to go, and that'll get them saying you got it. And it'll be a pyramid effect. It'll be a beautiful thing, and there'll be more people. So it'll all
no,
work out nice.
that's exactly right. I will leave you with this. When I did the interview with um so we're going to take this into a very weird ending, I guess, because I don't know why this popped into my head, but just to get people a sense of what a typical, like, I don't even want to say shift would be. Let's just say a little while. I last week did a podcast with I did Mike Dowd's Good Cop Bad Cop with him and Nick, and it was talking about a new cop that he brought in Patterson as well. And he was talking about the first 10 minutes of the guy's first ride. And it was pretty horrific what he described, just like driving down like a few blocks of, and he's like, and this is just, he's like, and this one's dead, and these people are having sex in the road. This person's doing drugs right in their neck. And and then they're like, you should come out and ride, get her a vest. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, you understand I'm a wimp. Like, I'm not pretending to be cooler than I am. I'm like, I mean, I guess. They're like, so you really see? I'm like, I'm not even sure I could handle and this is as a passive witness in a protected situation rather than being responsible in some way for those situations. But I mentioned that to just make sure it also comes through, like, the level of what you had to see on a daily basis. The story you described about the little girl saying the drugs are over here, my mommy's um, the the level of complexity of fear is probably fair. Most officers admit that there is fear sometimes in like more dangerous situations, right? Um, a little disgust in humans, like how
Oh,
people can behave in
absolutely.
such a way. Also, a helplessness because of the innocents that are in the middle of all this all the time, whether that be children, women, or men, or older, elderly, or what have you. People who are just, or people who, know no other way of life because of systemic issues or otherwise, right? So there's all these layered feelings on top of like you're hyper vigilant. It's like your responsibility for that area. So I just wanted to talk before we go about like if there's anything that you'd feel like you would love to say to yourself, like the you that you were in your early years on the force, based on what you know now, what would you tell yourself in terms of how to get through that job in that way and what you would see and feel in those layers?
If I could tell my younger self would have never listened. My younger self would have humiliated who I am today to the point that I would have been like, enjoy your life. And I would say you have to find inner peace one way or another. Alcohol doesn't help. I mean, I'm not even against drinking. I just decide not to drink anymore. Just because I just lowers my vibration, lowers my connection to nature. You have to find some kind of outlet. Whether it's nature, whether it's. Listen, I wrote poetry for a while. This is about 4 years ago. I sent them to Danny, and they started out so nice. They sounded great, and they were so vicious at the end. My wife's like, "What is wrong with you? You have a lot of hurt." And I still have them, and they're good. I don't even like to read them because I'm like, wow, that was rough. But if I could tell, my younger self, first of all, I wouldn't have got involved as much as I did. I would have worried about myself instead of trying to worry about everybody else. You know, is this one going to be okay from what happened? Is this one okay? People calling me wanting to talk, I would have set boundaries. I would have said, no, 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 I need my inner peace. I would have grounded myself better and found some kind of protection, something to find peace other than helping other people, chasing helping other people. It was like a knight in shining armor effect where you felt you needed to
Right,
help somebody to feel better.
but to the point where you're pouring from this empty cup. So,
Absolutely.
you know, not about, like, not helping, but it's about helping at the expense of yourself. Was the
Absolutely. And I think by helping people, it was actually feeding my ego because now, hey, he's a great guy. He did this for me. And then it was somebody else would call and it would somebody else. And then it was, I felt good about myself for reasons other than in front of people. I felt good, but about my own self and my own problems, no, I was masking those with trying to help. And that, if I could tell anybody that's, you can't take it all on. You can't, you have to have a release other than drinking alcohol. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a movie night with your girlfriend, your wife, and you eat a picnic. Just something different. Just something different to break up the monogamy of the job and of death and despair. And there's you have to find hope. Know that that's just a job, and you can't take it home with you. You can't. I mean, I say that now. I mean, 10 years is coming up on my shooting. I'm wearing that uniform in December, and I still wake up thinking not of what had happened, but that I have to go to work, that I have to put on that mask and I have to put on the uniform. I don't rarely get woken up shook about something that happened in the past. That thank God I've healed from a lot of that trauma, but the fact that I've waken up, I'm late for roll call, or oh my God, I got to go to work. Those I laugh at now. I wake up and I giggle and I go wash my face and go, thank God I don't. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just that you have to find a release. And drugs, alcohol definitely doesn't help. I'm living proof. I'm living proof. I mean, you can't mask it. Eventually, it's going to come out. You have to do some. Even if you journal. I know there's people on journal. I'm not writing none. And cops don't write none. You have to write it. Even if you write it and burn it. Even if you write it down, you'll feel better. If you write things down during your career, I wish I would have wrote things down during my career. I know my father says the same. He could have wrote a book. I would have wrote things down just so maybe my son could have understood who I was and what had happened to me, not realizing it. So if you write things down, maybe later on you can decompress them better, other than trying to hide them. You have to do that work from inside. So maybe journaling would help a younger generation or a younger me. I know a younger me would have been like, "This guy's nuts.
Yeah,
He's
no, I
shot
mean,
out."
there's a lot of scientific data from East and West sides about journaling, about writing your feelings. It's kind of one of the oldest forms, a lot because, I interview also a lot of people in the entertainment world and hip hop, and a lot of the artists talk about how for them, their craft, half of it is their therapy in terms of their release, their expression, the writing, the letting your feelings just flow out, some positive, some negative, as you say. Sometimes
Absolutely,
it doesn't always have to be therapeutic like intention when you start, but no, that's really great. And obviously that's something I personally also ascribe to because we made a mental health app that is a voice journal. So that's I think a very powerful tool. But like you saying to journal to other officers versus me suggesting to journal, so thank you for doing it because I think it comes from a place of like, you know um it does feel like flowery and light and maybe skews feminine, in some people's minds, because there's feelings involved. But that's the interesting thing, would you say? It's like the toughest, bravest, hardest, baddest military police armor, right? And what is the kryptonite? Feelings? Like,
absolutely. And it's you have to mask them. Well, if you feel you have to mask them for other people. I still mask my feelings. I'm being open today because I'm going to be open. I realized, the only way to
I
heal
appreciate
is to be honest. So if I can be honest with myself, and this is me, I know some people are like, this guy's a jerk off. I don't care. Truthfully, I don't care. I don't care if it's for me. If I can help one person, that makes me happy. At the end of the day, I help myself today. You helped me tremendously. I feel phenomenal. And so, at the end of the day, that one person's helped myself. If you can help yourself, then you can open up and you can help other people. But if you're trying to help other people and you can't help yourself, you're no help to anybody. And that's the realest thing I could say.
No, that's awesome. That's perfect. Perfect way to end. I thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time and support in
No
this
problem. I
effort.
appreciate it. I
My
appreciate
guinea
the
pig.
opportunity.
I like I said, I love meeting with you every time we speak. It's so wonderful. I can't wait for our it might be December 14th or it might be in January, but we'll get our date and we're going to do this yoga event. So anyone who sees this can stay tuned for finding that on the
Well,
interwebs.
who you need at the yoga event? Michael Dowd. If
Oh no.
Michael Dowd comes, and first of all, Michael Dowd still never texts me. I gave him my number. He never texts me. So you know what?
He's
He's
in
got to
Florida
text
right now, but I'll send him a message.
me.
We'll
You let him
guilt him a
know.
little bit.
Yeah, guilt him.
All right. I think we can make that happen. We have ways.
All right, no, I'm just joking. But if Michael Dowd came to the event, a lot more people would open up to it. They'd be like, "Holy shit, Michael Dowd's
That's
gonna do yoga."
amazing. Yeah, no, I already asked him. He said he would come. So,
Yeah,
yeah, of course. Of course. The whole point is I want people to be ready to just not care about
exactly.
those things.
What you have to do, just not care and enjoy your life.
Right. And
Live in the moment.
laugh at each other and just
Absolutely. Just live in the moment. You have to live in the moment. And then you know what? If you have good memories from that day, you're gonna laugh at night by yourself because nobody makes fun of yourself worse than yourself. That's why I don't care what people think about me. Nobody can criticize me worse than I criticize myself, or I have. Now I laugh at myself, and I'm comical. I'm like a clown. I literally, I'm a funny guy. I'm a funny guy. Is the best I could say. It's just comical in my own head. So you know what? That gets me through. Laughter's the best medicine. It's you have to laugh at yourself. If you can't laugh at yourself, then you can't accept yourself.
no, that's awesome. That's another great. We'll make that the closing statement.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Listen, I hope you enjoy the rest of this gorgeous day in your happy place, in your safe space over there. Just amazing. It's like a halo around your head. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your truths, your pains, your joys with us. And I know I will be seeing you again and looking forward to it.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. You have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye. At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.